Hey, decided to take you up on one of my favorite drives today to do a review on these floorboards. Let's go ahead and get right to it. We have all the brake side removed. Had to remove the brake rod, pedal assembly, all of that. Crash bar had to come off. We've got this bracket on here. Those were torqued specs 25 to 30 foot-pounds. I hit 30. And you have this brake rod here, wave washer on it. Got to do anti-siege, which I keep a container of that with me on there. So far, the instructions are really simple and plain, and the torque figures are given on the lines where you're assembling and everything. Okay, so we've got this brake side done. We'll move over to the left side and start on it. It's really, if you follow the instructions on this thing, makes it really easy. They've got everything laid out in a logical manner. The way they have you install the brake rod is the best way to go with that. The brake rod pin that has a Carter pin in it, it is actually a friction or interference fit. So you have to take a little hammer or something and tap it in. It's a real tight fit, but then it's got the Carter pin to back that up and to make it foolproof, basically. Here, I'll show you a look at that. You look here, this pin here, interference fit, friction fit if you prefer, and then back here on the back you've got the Carter pin and a washer that secures that piece in there. All that's set up, and you can tell by the footprints on it, I've already been on the seat. It does sit up quite a bit higher than what I had with the foot pegs, 3/4 of an inch or so. I should measure the other one now and then measure it again, give you guys an exact measurement. Compare them side by side. You can see the arms are very similar fit. If you was to rest your foot just back here on this pad, you're in the exact same position as you are with mid controls. You've not lost anything if you like the way this mid control feel does, which I like that. So there'll be a lot of times that I'll just have the ball of my foot here and my heel resting off the back of the floorboard, but it also gives me room to throw my heel up here and stretch out some. And this being rubber mounted, just like the touring bikes are, it gives you a lot of vibration isolation from the bike as well. So that'll make it a lot more comfortable. For me, I'm 5'10", gives me a little better feel on the seat. So up here where your thigh rolls off and goes down, it gives me just a little bit more room. My knees are still well below my hip joint there, so there's not going to be any tightness or uncomfortable. And sorry the bike is a mess. It's still raining, and I just decided to pull the bike in the shop and go ahead and get started on this install. I want to show you guys one issue. Now you can see it. This is a shift lever. You see how it hits that boss? You can see how it almost clears. What the instructions want you to do is to put this on to hold this shift lever out of the way. As you can see, it would need to be all the way back behind that boss in order for it to reach back there. Now, the other issue, I believe, is that once we get this off and we put the mount on for the heel toe shifter, if I was to build a bracket, which isn't a big deal to build a bracket to go and hold this in place, then that would interfere with this rod here. I think I know one way to get around it, and I'll double check it. The issue is, and what they're trying to do, is to avoid you having to take this whole shaft out. And in order to do that, then you've got to be able to plug here, and you got to be able to plug your inner primary, or by your primaries that was made for forward controls. So what I did to make this work, took a pair of pliers and I bent the shaft here forward enough to where it took some pressure off of this boss here where the transmission mounts to the motor, and that way I could get it pushed back far enough to rotate out of the way. Now the instructions say on this side that this bolt here can go in from the right side, from this side. And it looks like it probably could. You can see there's a good bit of space here. But for me, I wanted where the bolt's sticking through, you can see that. I wanted that to go away from the primary because there is plenty of room here, as you can see. You know, I can stick my whole hand back here. Lots of room there. So I decided to go in from the left side, and that allows me more room in there. I don't like anything getting too close to touching if I don't have to have it close. That's on. This torque back to 15 to 17 foot-pounds. That goes on there. That little bit of issue is something that is not in the book. Show you one other opportunity we're having. You see that boss down there on the inner primary. You see it touching there. It is holding that lever out when it's slid back that far, which is also, you can see the little shaft. That's the shift shaft. And what's happening is it's not allowing this piece to stick out far enough to get the cover on it. You've got this piece here that's got the set screw, and you slide on. The set screw is placed out back far enough to where it barely hits the edge, so if you tighten it up, it pushes this cap out. Now, for what I'm going to do to make this work is I'll put this on a belt sander and sand it down a little bit and try to get enough room to where it will slide on there and actually grab something with that set screw. So we got this piece sanded down. You can tell it's not 100% flat. Sanded fairly easily. So I'll put some blue Loctite on that lock, or set screw. Set that on there like so. And that'll cover it up. So you need to put the shift lever on here before you fully mount that up, so you'll have room. Just brush it on like so. Make sure it's good and covered. That'll slide in this way. I went ahead and hung this with one bolt. You can see here the shift lever, but if you hadn't have installed that first, there's no way that would fit in there. So, but the instructions are really plain on all this stuff. If you don't try to get ahead of yourself and follow the instructions step by step, they really walk you through it. This shift lever is the only issue I've had with is that little piece, and it's going to take a little bit of extra work to make everything work right, but it'll work. Now, this is an 05 model. They started making some changes in 05. I know the heads changed a little bit, valves changed a little bit. I don't know about the shift lever, and maybe that boss was added and nobody's really was aware of it. So I don't think they made the FXDP in 05. I know the 06 and up, they have different mounts that they use to work with this shift lever. So those may be some small differences, but for me, this is an easy fix, something that you could do if you've got a grinder, sander, and on basic tools like that. Then this is something that's easy to get to work. I want to go ahead and let you guys know when I measured the difference in the height of the foot pegs I had on in these floorboards. It's 1 3/4 inch difference in height. When we look at these pegs that I've been running here, you can see the way they're set up. They have a drop to them. So they actually, when mounted on the bike, sit below where it comes out here for the foot peg. Now, the factory foot pegs, being the round rubber mounted pegs, they would be quite a bit taller. So the difference in height, you know, maybe a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch difference overall from a factory mid-mount. Remember, these are the police controls, police floorboards for the Dyna Defender, and they were taller than any other of the floorboards that Harley had done. Main reason being is the Springer seat sets up so much higher, so it makes the ergonomics correct for the police bike. So is it expected to be that way. Now, if you want a set of floorboards for your bike and you're on a dyna and you don't want them raised, you want them low, and when you want them a lot farther forward than that, then Harley makes a floorboard kit for the dynas. It's what they put on their switchback, and it sits quite a bit lower than that. And they're also quite a bit farther forward. The back of those floorboards probably only come to here, and they come out way out here towards the front of the frame. So that's an option for you if you wanted to do something besides the Dyna Defender floorboard kit. So that's the review on these floorboards. I really like the floorboards, man. They are so comfortable when you're on the bike and you're riding. It goes along with the look that I'm building into this bike, which is a lot of police edition parts that are on the motorcycle. We'll have coming up probably later this year, maybe first part of next year. We have the police pursuit pods to go on the front of the fairing. That'll come at a later date. I'll end up putting spotlights and stuff in those to help with visibility whenever I'm riding at night. Right now, the setup on this bike is so comfortable. The seat works really well that we've put on there. The floorboards match the seat perfectly, so they get your feet up to the right level to where you're comfortable. You're in a really neutral riding position. This thing has really worked out good. I've not had to do any modifications to it. Took it on a pretty good trip. Got up into some high speeds. It held its shape well. It stayed locked in. So these pieces are really working out well for this motorcycle. I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching the video. This is Augie Outdoors. Click like and subscribe.